Hi everyone, welcome to my channel where I discuss all things human design. On today's episode, I'm going to be looking at human design and how it pertains to boundaries. I'll be reviewing the 5 different human design types and coming up with different questions to ask yourself when you may be out of alignment and may not be paying attention to important boundaries that you may need to set up. Because of this, I have my laptop in front of me. This is an information-heavy episode, and I couldn't find my open throat and open ajna and open crown to memorize all the information, so I have written it down, and I do apologize for that. But I do hope you'll stick around and that this will be a fun and informative way to learn more about your human design. If you're new here and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I've linked several resources in the description box below where you can learn more about your human design type for free. Lastly, if you're interested in learning more about human design from the perspective of the real world and how it shows up, make sure to hit the subscribe button as I put out 2 new videos each week. All right, so the first design type I'll be looking at are the manifestors. As a quick refresher, manifestors make up a little under 8% of the population. Their strategy is to initiate, their not self theme is anger, and their signature is success. If you want to learn more about manifestors or any of the other human design types, I've also linked videos to each type in the description box below. I've kind of written 3 questions that focus on the not self theme. I've used the not self theme as our way of determining when we are out of alignment with our boundaries, because when we're not in alignment, we experience our not self theme. For manifestors specifically, you might want to ask yourself, where may you be forcing others into a situation? As a manifestor, you have a very powerful energy, and maybe you are forcing others into joining a company or joining a project with you, and it may not be in alignment for them. So you experience resistance, and then you may start to feel that judgment or that rejection. And it's really important having that clear boundary and recognizing when are you forcing someone into a situation versus allowing them to decide if they want to join you or not. It's all about remembering that you have a selective aura and trusting that the right people will always show up as they need to show up, trusting in the universe. I promise it works each time, although it is difficult for our human selves to recognize that. Another question you might want to ask as a manifestor is, where might you be showing up and operating as a generator energy? Prior to working from home, many of us worked in offices and we would work 9 to 5. That's the standard. That's what society has taught us. However, as a manifestor, you create your own energy through your throat and you work in bursts. You really are able to work, 2 weeks straight, but then maybe not touch your laptop for a couple of days. So really understanding where did you agree or make a commitment that has you operating as a generator energy that's not necessarily in your alignment, which has you feeling that not self theme of anger. There's another boundary right there to take a look at. A third question you can ask as a manifestor is, what parts of your life can you delegate? Are there areas of your life that you are controlling that you might be able to delegate? Do you feel that you need to answer your inbox and that it has to come from you? Or is there someone that you could hire to help you with your inbox or your website? I meet so many manifestors that feel completely burned out when they have an idea, they try to develop it, but then they also try to create the website, create the email marketing, do the sales, do everything, operate as if they're this generator energy or this 10-person show and it's just them. And so where can you delegate? Whenever you're feeling your not self-theme, asking yourself, where are you forcing a situation? Where are you operating maybe as a different energy type that is not your own energy type, such as a generator energy? And where can you delegate? That's so important for manifestors because your strategy is to inform. And when we feel our not self-theme, it's often because we've drifted away and have not set a good boundary or recognizing when we are not in our strategy. So that was a little bit of a tongue twister. I hope it made sense, but again, as a manifestor, this is how boundaries may show up for your specific human design type. When it comes to manifesting generators and generators, this is quite interesting because if you're a manifesting generator, you're kind of like a hybrid between manifestor and generator energy. You've got the manifestor quality that feels that spontaneous hit to inform and initiate and start companies and go after different ideas. But then you have that generator energy that thrives on that focus and really is lit up and excited by doing what they love doing. And so again, as a refresher, manifesting generators have the exact same strategy, not self-theme, and signature as generators. So both of these human design types that fall under the greater generator umbrella have the strategy to respond, the not self-theme of frustration, and then the signature of satisfaction. When it comes to boundaries, the first question I recommend generator energy to ask is, does something excite you? When someone asks you to help them move or go to a party or partake in a new company idea, does it excite you? Do you feel excited about it? When I think about this and people are not sure, what does that mean? I always refer back to food. So if you love mangoes and someone offers you a juicy, ripe mango and you're like, yes, I want to eat a mango, then that's a good indication that yes, that might be in alignment. You're excited by it. If it's an opportunity that feels like, I don't know, a rotten salad or something that you don't like eating, and it kind of feels like an I don't know or maybe, or you're saying yes because you don't know what if you say no and what will that person think, that's generally an indication that you should say no and you should not cross that boundary, that you have to be firm with your boundaries and really only operate from a place that feels like, yes, I want to eat that juicy mango. And I know that's a funny analogy, but food or anything else in your life that excites you is a great indicator to remind yourself what that feeling is. If you get that feeling when you're making a decision, then I would say it's a yes. And if you don't, hold off and see what else the universe presents, because oftentimes generators will get into their not self theme by agreeing to too much and then obviously feeling the frustration and having to say no to things to allow for more yes to come in. Another question, as I mentioned, I'm doing this in 3 questions for each design type, is asking yourself, am I doing this because I want to or because I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't show up? So I just mentioned that, the what if question. Do you feel that you have to? Do you feel obligated because you're afraid of saying no? And really exploring that, what would happen if you told your friend that you can't help them move during the weekend, that you have something else and that you're just not able to show up. Really making sure that you think about this and don't feel that you have to show up because of someone else or because of an outside energy, really focusing on your own boundaries. The third question is, where in your life are you feeling that not self theme? Where is it stemming from? How can you say no? So it's kind of funny because I do have written here some ideas around each of the energy types, but I pretty much already spilled the beans on the generators. I myself am a generator, so I'm totally guilty of just, feeling frustration and then wondering, okay, what did I say yes to? What did I agree to? How is my schedule not working for me now? Where did I put myself under pressure? Where am I not operating from what works best for me? And there's so many areas of the human design chart to learn about this. Whether it's that you're routine oriented or that you like working under pressure, or maybe you love working with people and you're not working with people. It's so interesting because there's so many different parts of our chart where we can learn better on how we operate. But really just focusing in on, if you're feeling frustrated, where is that frustration coming from? And how can you say no to allow more room for yes to fall in? All right, so now we're going to take a look at projectors. Now, projectors are pretty interesting when it comes to boundaries because their strategy is literally to wait for the invitation. Their not self-theme is bitterness and their signature is success. So as a reminder, I always tell others to think about the not self-theme. Where is it showing up? How is it showing up? And then how does it pertain to boundaries? When it comes to projectors, some questions you might want to ask yourself are really, do you feel obligated to respond to the invitation? Do you feel that you don't have an escape, that someone asked you and you don't know how to say no? As a generator, we're very good at the yes, no, but as a projector, if someone asks you a point blank yes or no question, do you want to join the company? You might feel as though you're obligated to join because you feel that you have to respond positively to whatever is being asked of you. So making sure that you are genuinely excited by the invitations that come through, that you're not just agreeing to them because someone has invited you. Another question to think about is, again, similar to the manifestor, where are you operating as a generator energy? Where are you not giving yourself the time to take those mini breaks, to take in information, work in short spurts, and then get back to, taking a break and then getting back to work? You are your most productive self when you take these breaks, and you're extremely efficient, more efficient than most of us. So really honoring that and not comparing yourself to generator energy and not showing up just to show face and then exhausting yourself when that's not necessarily what's in alignment for how your energy as a projector shows up. And then the third thing is, where are you comparing yourself to others rather than focusing on showing up for yourself first? So again, a lot of projectors, they compare themselves. They think that, oh, well, if I showed up like this, then I would also be like that. And I just like to remind all of you that when you're comparing yourself, you're not honoring your true nature, your own human design type. And it's not just about your human design type and the main type that you are. There's so many aspects of the human design chart to look at. I always say that there's so much more than just these types, but as a projector, really making sure that you're not comparing yourself. So thinking about where you're showing up as a generator, where you're comparing yourself to others, where did you agree to something that you weren't really excited about, but you didn't know how to say no. Those are the boundaries that I would say most projectors would focus on, or not necessarily focus on, but would have experience having to think about. I think it's super interesting in human design that each type, we all as humans face boundaries, but each type has different boundaries that I think do show up based on how they operate with their strategy, their not self theme, and their signature. This brings me to the last type, which are reflectors. If you remember, reflectors, their strategy is to wait a 29-day lunar cycle. They're the only design type that operates with the lunar moon and this cycle. Their not self theme is disappointment, and then their signature is actually surprise. So when it comes to reflectors, some questions here that you might want to ask yourself when it comes to boundaries are, where are you defining yourself? I spoke about it in my reflector video, which is linked in the description box, but you are literally here to not define yourself, and then society comes in and tries to get you to define yourself. This is a boundary that you want to be aware of. Where are you defining yourself and trying to show up as another energy type that is not necessarily your own? Where are you trying to take on a lot of pressure when your root is actually open and you may not necessarily operate well under pressure? Another example or question that you might want to ask yourself is, where are you letting your environment choose or influence your decision? As a reflector, you are extremely influenced by your environment because your entire chart is just wide open and receiving and magnifying everything out there. So making sure that you have time alone and a really healthy environment, that you're in a place where you can have a clear mind and make a decision and not feel that you're influenced or that an outside influence is generating the decision. And that's just another example of a boundary that you can set for yourself when it comes to decision making. The third thing that I think is super important for reflectors is really asking yourself, how can you communicate your need for time when making a decision? How can you create healthy boundaries around this? Obviously, if you need to make a big decision on a move and everyone expects you to come up with a decision in a few days, how can you communicate that you actually would really appreciate having 29 days, or you would appreciate more time to think about the situation? I mentioned this also in my reflector video, that reflectors literally live these mini lives in between each lunar cycle, and so it's important to have time to process things. And so how can you communicate that? Those are areas that you can focus on when it comes to boundaries as a reflector. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video on boundaries and human design types. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, and make sure to hit the subscribe button as I put out 2 new videos each week, and I'm so excited to share more on human design and how it shows up in our real life experience. Thank you.